All right, guys, aloha. My name is Les, point and shoot 808, born and raised in Honolulu, Hawaii. I think I'm 46 years old. My background, not too competitive in water sports, but I did bodyboard as a kid growing up till college years. Favorite spots were always sandy beach, rock piles. Getting into surf photography is actually interesting. I only got into it about 3 years ago, and it wasn't something that I wanted to do as a career. I have like really no art talent, really. I got in there as a side hobby to spend time with my kids. Long story short, I lost my mom to cancer about 10 years ago. So I was still active and all that stuff, but inside I wasn't really caring about anything anymore. And I think the photography was a blessing to me because it actually got me back in the water and having fun with it. And the water is actually very healing. Yeah, so that's how I kind of got into it. The video I watched that got me into it was from a small photographer no one really knows, Clark Little, Shore Break. I saw that video and I'm like, I can do that, or I know that spot right there, and then I'll start with a GoPro. I still can't do that, but that's what it got me into surf photography and having fun out there. I started with a basic camera, probably like everybody else did. It's a GoPro. And I just started at little spots, trying to play with the little ankle slappers like that. Sandies, I went to Diamond Head, playing around with it, and I realized, man, this is a lot harder than it looks. You know, obviously I was shooting a lot smaller waves in the big shore break, but it was still hard. The timing, the colors. I said, this is no joke right here. And then when I'm into something, then I get all into something. And then I just started to just look at it and try more often. And I still don't have it down, but it's so fun to get out there, and it's so dynamic, the waves and water and all that changes everything. So it's very interesting to me. My camera was a Sony a6000. I had like the old workhorse. I still use it. I love that camera. But now I'm shooting with an a6500 and also a a72. I shoot a lot of shots. I kind of going after the stoke. I look for people who are having fun. They got to be smiling. Granted, I don't get them all with smiles, but they have to have some kind of expression like they're enjoying themselves. I don't really have a favorite shot, except like I tell people, any shot that I have with my kids, that's my favorite shots right there. Man, water safety is super important. Like this helmet right here is gaff. A lot of guys are wearing it now. I never wore it before because as a kid growing up, you kind of view people with the safety equipment as what you call like kooks and all that, but it was a weird story. I went to Sandy's one day and it was a pretty big day, I think, like 2 to 4. I was trying to shoot a barrel and I kind of got a little greedy with that shot, and I stayed in that barrel a little too long, and I went over the falls with it. And I think I hit a rock, and I don't think I passed out, but my friend said I was kind of standing on shore, just standing there for a few seconds, like just zoning out. And that kind of started the head injury. And the funny thing is, that same day, Alamana was breaking big, and I went out to bowls that night. I shouldn't have went out to bowls that night. And I think I took another 2 more shots to the head, and my kids said that I was sitting on the reef for a long minute and not moving and I thought I was swimming, but they said, no, you were sitting still on the rocks, and the waves just kept hitting you. And after that session, I couldn't even stand up. I felt like I was motion sickness, and apparently I had a mean concussion that day, and it kind of affected me for about a month or two. I couldn't even get my balance in there. But that's when I put this thing on. I got the helmet. As soon as I could get back in the water, I got the gaff helmet. You still can get hurt with this, but it kind of it minimizes protection, but it creates that awareness right there too. So mainly is also to allow the riders to see you. And that's the main thing, is that visual aspect. It's like that yellow cone or that little reflective suit right there. A lot of beadings on this helmet. I love this thing right here. My water housing camera that I use is, I'm fortunate to be sponsored by a company named Salted Lines. It's a company out of Asia. It's a very low cost, but I think highly effective housing. I'm using it with a long port. Right now I'm carrying a Sony 18105 mounted to a Sony a6500. And then I use the GoPro on top for the shots that get a lot closer to me. But I love this guy. I mean, it took a lot of beating with me too. Company stood behind me, so I love these guys for that. Is this Sony good for all around? I think it is, but it's an f4, so when I shoot a little later at night, it definitely affects my lighting. That's when I switched to my other lens, like one of my Sigmas 1.8s, the 56mm 1.8s, allows me to get stay a little longer in the evening. But otherwise, it's a great lens. It zooms. I got smarter after 3 years that, man, if I use a zoom lens, I don't gotta swim a lot more. So that's where this lens comes in, but I still have that tendency to get in close. So this lens does the job right there. Well, my favorite spots kind of varies depending on the season. Usually in the summertime, you'll see me a lot at the canoes, sometimes Queens. I'm heading into rock piles and Kaisers a lot more. Maybe try to get into bowls when it's not too big. North, you'll see me on shore. I have no aspiration of getting in the water at North. Pipeline, catching all the boys and girls out there, man. I mean, the equipment obviously helps a lot, the quality and clarity of the shot. But I think the skill still lies in the guy or the girl holding the camera. You gotta know where you're at, but without getting in the way of the rider too, because that's their experience out there. So it's trying to get the shot you want without affecting their ride and still making the shot look natural, if that makes sense. It's just spending a lot more time out there. I love the ocean because it's healing. I love the people out there because no one's really out there angry. So that's why I love it out there, you know, and you can talk story with people, and there's so many different walks of life. It's so interesting out there.